In this video Docker series, we are going to do some hands-on practice with Docker container. Before that, we need to install the Docker in our system. For that, we have to go to the Docker website, so docker.com, and here you can see the downloads button. So download the Docker according to your OS. So I already downloaded in my system. So once you download in your system, the first thing we have to do is open the Docker desktop. So we can see over here the Docker container image volume. So in this video we are going to cover the Docker container. The other way to check whether the Docker is properly installed or not is like open the terminal and enter the command docker version. So you can see the Docker version over here. Those who don't know about Docker container and images, please do check out my previous video on Docker architecture, where I explain Docker container image in detail. So the first command we are going to see is how to create a Docker container and running the Docker container. So the first command is like docker container run -d -p 8001 :80, then nginx. Oh, so it's typo error. So let me So as you can see, it gives one container ID. So what these commands tells is like we are running a Docker container, and so we are going to create and running the Docker container. Here the -d, it means it's detached mode. So it's going to run whatever the progress while creating and running this particular container, it will run in behind, like in background. So it will not visible in terminal. So that's what detach -d. -p means it's a port. So you are going to do a port mapping. So what port we are going to map is like we are going to install, like we are going to run nginx in this container. So nginx is running on port 80. So we are saying like the nginx which is running in container on port 80, we have to map that port 80 to 8001 in our system port. So it's going to map the nginx which is running on the container port 80 is going to map to our system's port, which is 8001. It's going to map. So this means -p means port mapping, and the nginx, the last one, is the image. So is the image of that particular nginx that we are going to like through which we are going to create this container. So if I open in my browser terminal the local host 8001, then you can see the nginx is running. Okay, so this is how you are going to like run any image and going to create a container. So you can ask like how we can find this image like nginx. So there is a site called Docker Hub. So this Docker Hub is like a library, or you can say repository, where you can find all the images of Docker. And let's say for example, if I type Ubuntu, then you can find the all Ubuntu's images, and you can find the official image, verified publishers. You can filter according to your requirement. And if I say nginx, so you can see the nginx which is over here. If you click on this, you can see all the details of nginx image, the version, tags. So yeah, please go through this. So this is how you can create a container. Now let's say the another command, which is docker container ls, which is going to show me all the containers which is running. So this you can see over here the container ID, the image, the command, when that particular container is created, the status of that right now, the port, and you can see the port mapping over here, like port 80 to 8001, and the name of that particular container. So you can see the name, which is a random generated name, but you can also give a proper name. So it's like docker container run -d -p 8001, let's say 8002, because already running in 8001. And so the command is like name, okay, and you can give the name like web server and nginx. So if you run this command, now if I say docker container ls, you can see the name of that container is now web server. The other command that is used to inspect particular container. So docker container inspect and let's say the web server. If I enter, so you can see all the parameters, configuration of that particular container over here. So you can see the networks, you can see the ID, the path, and you can see the mounts, you can see the configs, volume, and the network setting. So this is the command where you can see all the particular parameters and configurations, settings about a particular container. Now let's check the another command, which is docker container logs web server. So this command will give you the logs of that particular container. So you can see over here. Let's see the another command, which is to stop a container. So docker container stop web server. So it's going to stop that particular container. So how can I see that? So if you open this docker desktop, you can see the web server which is stopped, it's not running now. But if I run the command like docker start, so it is going to start the container. So you can see web server is now running. Now you can also remove this container. So the command is like, first you have to stop. So I'm going to stop this server. Now I'm going to say docker container rm web server, which is going to remove the container. So as you can see, the container is removed. So the another command, which is like, first let's create one container. Now the another command is like docker container port web server. So it will give me the port on which the container is mapped to. Now let's see the one command which is related to like interactive operations. So for example, if I want to run a container and if I like, basically that container is going to create based on the Ubuntu image. So I want to run a Ubuntu in that container. So I will say docker container run -it. So here the -it means I means interactive and T means the terminal. So it's going to create a interactive terminal and I can interact with the Ubuntu. So -it -d, then I will say the name is like Ubuntu and the image name Ubuntu. Okay, So if I say, so you can see over here the Ubuntu is running. Now if I want to interact with that, I will say docker container execution. So I'm going to execute this, and I say -it, then the name of that container, and the last one, which is the bash. So the bash is like I am going to interact with through bash shell. Okay, if I enter, so you can see the terminal. Okay, the root. Now I can say ls. So now I'm interacting with the Ubuntu. This way you can interact with Ubuntu. Let me exit this. These all commands which is oftenly used when you deal with the containers. For more commands, you can visit the Docker documents related to containers, where you can find different commands for different use case. So this is all about Docker containers command, and I will talk about volumes and network in upcoming video.